6-7, the Giants have those 2 picks. And I've said in the past that I would love them to take someone like Evan Neal. Should he be there? He won't be there at 6, I don't think. But maybe Kenyon Green and Tyler Linderbaum have been to sort of support my take only offensive lineman theories. Not certainly something Dave Gettleman gets behind. But the 2 guys that have him taken are on defense, and they're so freaking athletic and good. I feel like it's hard to pass up on. Kyle Hamilton at 6, Derek Stingley at 7. You can switch around if that makes you feel better. What do you think about that for that defense, which under Patrick Graham has actually been surprisingly not terrible?
Yeah, it depends on how they use those, specifically Kyle Hamilton, because there's obviously a place for Derek Stingley. Across from James Bradbury, you can put Adoree Jackson in the slot where he has been successful at times in the past. Kyle Hamilton, I think Jabril Peppers is a free agent. I'm not entirely sure about that. Suddenly you've got a little more leverage there if he's gone. And then you pair him with Xavier McKinney. But I think Kyle Hamilton's true value is in his flexibility, his position to be that overhang linebacker where he's able to play down in the box and read routes and make plays, downhill. I think that's where he's best suited. So if New York is going to be able to put him in that position, then I think it's a no-brainer because he's easily one of the top 3 talents in this draft class. I think we've got him at number 1 overall in our rankings right now. Derek Stingley, an injury cost him most of the season, so we don't really know where he is at this point in time. But just from what we've seen on the field, I mean, this is a standout player that is an easy transition to the NFL and a guy that, could really solidify the back end of that Giants secondary when you're talking about the amalgamation of talent that would be there with those 5 players.
Let me ask you this. The issue with Kyle Hamilton, the one that you bring up, is an interesting one, the one that we sort of hear a lot. It's sort of the Isaiah Simmons conundrum. I mean, he's so athletic, you want to do everything with him, where I think you have to sort of pare down his responsibilities early on and go from there. But the Derek Stingley thing, rank these guys coming out of college. Jeffrey Okudah, Derek Stingley, and Patrick Surtain. Like, if you were drafting a cornerback, how would you rank those guys?
Yeah, coming out of college, I would probably – man, I love Jeff Okudah too, so that's tough. I would still say Derek Stingley, number 1. Probably Patrick Surtain, number 2. I think it's a very marginal gap between those 2. And then obviously Jeff Okudah, 3. The thing with Jeff Okudah that I like so much is that he was going to come downhill and make those plays in the flat, the way that Rondé Barber used to do in the past. That's kind of one of the things that drew me to Jeff Okudah. I think Patrick Surtain has great size. Derek Stingley, he's got all of the athleticism, but does he have that same toughness, that same desire to come down and make those same plays in the flat?
Yeah, I'm switching Okudah and Stingley. I'm having Okudah first. I absolutely loved him. Clearly, the injuries have not done him well in Detroit, and it's just, again, it's incredibly hard to figure out. Patrick Surtain, I actually like Caleb Farley. He was my number 1. Caleb Farley was my number 1. Surtain was my 1A. It was really close. It wasn't even that much differentiation, but I liked the athleticism of Caleb Farley. But again, he had the back issue, and he actually fell in the first round to the Titans. And then I would have Derek Stingley. And I wonder if the hype is sort of overshadowing exactly the player that Derek Stingley is. I'm not taking anything away from him, but he is not the best cornerback to walk the earth. And we sort of sell him. It's not his fault. This is sort of, we pump him up like that because that's what sort of draft media do. But he's not better than Okudah for me, and he's not as consistent as Surtain. And Surtain wasn't, quote unquote, the athlete, but he's a pretty good freaking athlete, which tells you how good the athletes are. Going from college to NFL. We'll see. You just don't know. It's so hard to tell. Like, no one thought that Okudah was going to struggle in the way that he struggled. They have Oruwariye, who's played okay. He was a 4th-round pick, I think, out of Penn State. They have Ife Melifonwu, who's, I think, was a 2nd or 3rd-round pick last year, who played okay till he got hurt. And Okudah has been the worst cornerback by far. So it's just weird. You don't know how these things sort themselves out. But I do wonder if we're expecting too much of Stingley, and then we're all going to act like we're surprised when he doesn't come out playing like Deion Sanders in week 1.
I think that's fair. Even this year with Patrick Surtain and Asante Samuel, I think they've obviously had some up and downs in their rookie seasons. Greg Newsome, in my opinion, has been the best of the bunch in
Yeah.
terms of just those boundary type corners. Nate Hobbs, I think, was a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, I
Out
love
of
Nate
Louisville.
Hobbs.
Yeah, I mean, he's been
Wait, Nate
everything
Hobbs
and
out
more.
of Illinois.
Illinois, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a
Yep.
different. I wanted to make sure. Yeah, no, I love Nate Hobbs coming out. And it's one of those things. I was talking to someone about this, like Jamin Davis. You're a Kentucky guy. You knew about Jamin Davis. But Jamin Davis is a perfect example of once late February, March rolls around, early April, and he's a draft sleeper. That means that NFL teams knew about Jamin Davis throughout the whole fall, and they weren't talking to people because they didn't want his name out there and people talking him up. And that's why he came out there. Like every NFL team knows every single player, especially Power 5 schools, whether they're good or not. Nate Hobbs, NFL teams knew about him, but no one else knew about him because he played at Illinois, number one. And a lot of times I would imagine, because this is the case with me, I'm not asking about, hey, who do you like on day 3 out of the Power 5 schools that stink? And that doesn't mean that these guys can't play. That just means, or they're sleepers. It just means that, Josh Edwards only has 2 eyes. Ryan Wilson only has 2 eyes, and you don't get around to seeing all these guys. But I love when people say Jamin Davis was a sleeper. Yeah, Jamin Davis was really good last year, came on strong, and the NFL teams really knew about him for a while. So that's my little soapbox preaching about, at the end of the day, the media not really knowing anything.